Hello and welcome to the EFM Health Club podcast. We are back for another week and to talk about all of your health, fitness and wellness needs. With me, as always, are both Wade Brady and Jason Jesusius. How are you guys?
Good, thanks, Justin.
Justin, Jason, good morning, fellas.
Sounding very positive, which is very on brand for us at this point. So today we are talking about the benefits and having a positive mindset during our day-to-day lives. We come across the full gamut, I think, of both positive and negative people, particularly in relating it to exercise and their potential. People often questioning themselves, can I do it? I can't do it. And then other people jumping straight in and just feeling amazing because they have this mindset of constantly growing and constantly being able to do new things. And that generally comes about as a result of having both positive and negative mindsets. When we think about the power of positivity and positive mindset, guys, what comes to mind for both of you guys?
I'll go first, Wade. Yep. So what comes to mind for me is, I guess, a healthy attitude towards day-to-day life. It is exactly what you said. It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking and a way of being. I guess when you get up in the morning, do you choose to see things through a positive lens, the old glass half full, as they say, or do things seem more negative or pessimistic? Is the glass half empty? So, to me, a positive mindset means so many things and affects so many different aspects of our lives. Our health and fitness is just one of them. But to me, it comes down to habits in the way that we behave and the choices that we make. And I guess the attitude that we choose to have that can be affected by our day-to-day routines, the way we exercise, the way we eat, the way we sleep, the way we consume our water, the people we surround ourselves with, all help to frame our mindset and whether that be a positive one or otherwise.
Yeah, I think it could be a bit of a throwaway comment just to say choose to act, choose to think positively. I think there's a fair bit of work that can go into improving how good you are at that. There's a lot of tools you can actually use, like practicing gratitude, these types of things. But I would have been what I would call a default negative thinker. But through my good wife, we've been together for I don't know how many years now. She's a default positive person. And in the early days, I remember her coaching me, like as silly as it might sound, through situations of like calling me out or nicely, of course, but and the practicing gratitude, it is amazingly powerful. I think everyone's heard of it, but not everyone's practiced it, and it does start to rewire your brain. And the more you practice it, the more you can see what's going good for you in the world. And attitude. I've heard attitude explained as it's the one thing that can't be taken away from you. You can have pretty much everything in your life taken away from you, but your attitude is something that you are in control of at the end of the day, which is a really cool thing. But yeah, attitude. I got to a point where I thought attitude is everything when it comes to how people go about their day and their successes. I've spoken to lots of people, like business owners and stuff, over the years. Like one quick example is I was talking to a guy who manages. He's got about 30 staff under him, and I said, Chris, you like a lot of the quotes that I have on the wall. I said, what's your favorite quote about attitude? And he said, I'm not sure about a quote, but he said, anytime we do a job interview, whether it's a mechanic or someone in sales. All he's interested in is their attitude. He said, we can teach them the rest, but if they've got a good attitude, that's all the nucleus of them getting a job here. And I was like, yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, so a couple of examples there.
That's
I think we all know when we've met a positive person, like it's very hard to fake, isn't it? So, and even just, in the microcosm of a gym, when we're doing exercise or about to start exercise, then you know when someone's a positive or a negative person. The negative person can find every problem with everything and how their body's not going to react, and it's going to probably injure them, or it's going to do this, or it's going to do that, or they're too tired, or they had an issue with sleep last night and they don't have any energy, but they're not sure why. And the positive person can find reasons why they'll be, it'll be a positive experience, it'll be a good experience, it'll benefit them. There's a sense of optimism within them, and it's so easy to tell that it becomes very much a habit, doesn't it? So that the habit continues to form if you want to look at that side and the side of the glass it's half empty. But the person who practices the habit of being really being positive and just seeing the benefits in things, and even in situations where there's an issue, looking for a solution rather than lamenting that there's a problem and why should that problem have to be thrust upon them. They continue to send people in opposite directions on that positivity negativity scale, I feel.
Yeah,
it's really
it's I think when you think a lot of people, we see them come in, say hello when they get they're there to start their workout. A lot of the times the vibe you're getting off someone is like, okay, they're not up for a chat this morning, fair enough. But I think as a rule, everyone heading out the other way after their workout, their whole mindset's changed. So I think a lot of the times you've got to have some positivity, like you've got to have that positive mindset that I don't feel like going to the gym, but I know it'll be good for me and it'll transform my mood. But you've got to have enough, I suppose, push, insight, trust in the process to get it started. If that makes sense, Jace, you could probably expand.
It does make a lot of sense, because that is one of the biggest challenges. Is it is getting started, and if you look through the lens of the typical person who comes into our clubs, let's take the person that comes in for their 6 a.m. session, right? A lot of people, when they wake up at 20 past 5 or whatever time the alarm goes off, when they wake up, it's not necessarily when we're going to catch ourselves at our best attitude, right? But they've got to find the will to get out of bed, put their shoes on, sometimes in the middle of the winter when it's cold and dark. And, it's not real appealing to be out of bed when it seems like the rest of the world is still sleeping. Maybe they haven't had a full night's sleep. So, they put their shoes on, they come into the club, and they might be, you kind of described how that they come in, that they might not be full of beans or full of energy just yet. But I guess, relating it to what we do, when they come in, they're feeding off of us. Part of our role is to provide some of that positivity for them to feed off, and an environment where generally overall the positivity is above average. It is high. And you're right, they walk out at the end of the workout and all of a sudden the attitude changes. There's some exercise, there's some endorphins and things that happen along the way. But I guess you're trying to create
something like a tool people can use. I had a guy years ago, I used to be messaging him all the time because I hadn't seen him a whole lot, Michael. And you get busy in the afternoon, particularly when, he runs his own business and that. And at some point, he just switched to 6 a.m.s and was just coming in consistently at 6 a.m. And you don't see that happen very often. And I said, I said to him, how did you do that? And this is, again, having the tools and setting yourself up for success. He said, you make much better rational decisions when, the night before than when you wake up first thing in the morning. So you make that commitment the night before, but set yourself up for success, and you fill up your water bottle, you get your clothes out of your room and put them in the lounge room. You know where your car keys are. Everything's laid out, ready to go. And I suppose when you wake up and start going through the process, that's probably a positive experience. Just everything's like, oh, I'm glad I did this. This is way easier than not trying to find everything in the dark. And then you can start to spiral because you're starting to get cranky because you didn't want to get up, and now you can't find your keys and where did I put my shoes? And so there's things you can do to help yourself. And again, like you touched on before, and if you've eaten well the day before, then you probably have slept better. And if you've gone to bed early enough, then getting up, you can be default more positive when you wake up in the morning. So there's a lot of physical things you can do and plan to set yourself up for success. But it's an interesting one. I suppose part of it is planned, and the other one is catching yourself and saying, trying to find some perspective and say, I'm lucky I have the opportunity here.
I think we have a more positive attitude when we have some success. So you ask yourself, how am I going to have some success? Well, I've got to have a plan. Well, if I'm going to make a plan, that plan's got to set me up to make it less likely that I'm going to fail, because if I'm organized, then I'm more likely to get the result that I'm after. And once, so you put your stuff out the night before, you get your drink bottle, you get everything ready, and you're ready to go. And once you do that, and you do that a few times in a row, and you've created yourself, all of a sudden you've got a habit, you've got a routine, and with routine comes that success. With that success comes a more positive feeling with and this isn't just exercise, this is anything that you're trying to create. So by having routine, by having habits, and habits that we sometimes have to improve on.
The little wins, aren't they? I think there's a lot of podcasts out there talking about make your bed first thing in the morning, because you've done it. That's a win. You've achieved that. Doesn't matter what happens for the rest of the day. That can't be taken away from you. That's done. You've kicked that goal. So those little wins, and it makes me think of in footy. They're professional footballers. They put their whole life into playing good football, but it's just they're still human, and they might be having an average game until they kick a goal. And they kick that goal, and then all of a sudden they believe in themselves again, and it's like, right, I want to kick another goal. It's just amazing the power of those little wins, and it can flick things into a positive. Yeah. So.
I think, they say having a positive mindset kind of leads to you achieving the goals that you set out. There's a direct correlation there. If you've got a really positive mindset, you'll be more determined to continue to get to your ultimate goal. I think, there's the reverse is also true. If you, like you say, start ticking off a few goals that you had. So the goal is to get up in the morning. That creates the positive mindset to get to the next goal. I feel like it's a bit more of the chicken and the egg argument. Start doing a few physical things to tick off a couple of mental goals that you have, and all of a sudden the mindset around your capability to do everything else suddenly starts to shift. So having a positive mindset is purely a mental construct, but there's some really physical elements to that can help go a long way in achieving that.
It's another physical elements. It's just funny. I don't know if you're having one of those bad days, and everyone will have bad days. I suppose it puts it in perspective so you know what a good day is. But driving around, I know I've probably drive around and you might have a bit of a grumpy look on your face, and everyone else has a grumpy look on their face. That whole, what you're projecting out comes back. You could use the red light example. If you're running late and you're cranky, you seem to get every bloody red light. It's just funny how the universe works like that. But on the other side of the coin is, if you smile at someone and look them in the eye, they're going to smile back, and that's that whole what you're putting out into the world is coming back,
Yeah.
and it snowballs. Yeah, and it's just funny how we forget these things, and you have to pull yourself up, and that's where again a meditation, doing a quick gratitude, going for a walk. I guess it's just breaking the cycle with something, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and I think it's and having a little bit of perspective around things as well. So just before we came on, I grabbed a coffee and as I was sitting down, I knocked it over, and the words that came out of my mouth can't be repeated. But when I look at the amount, and I can still see it, the amount of coffee, the tiny little splash that spilled out because I quickly grabbed it. I had a whole cup of coffee and I spilt maybe 20 mils. And so just having a little bit of perspective, right, you know what, it was less than half a mouthful. Putting that into perspective makes a lot of difference to me. So I didn't feel like I missed out. And having that perspective around some of the problems that you have that are going to, and because we're talking mainly about, kind of fitness, intertwining into people's kind of mental health. We come up from a gym perspective. Some of the little roadblocks that are going to get you in the way because you couldn't quite, like it's more difficult to get to the gym. You hit that red light. Now you're going to lose 2 minutes. Oh my God, it's not even worth going. Having some perspective around what's actually happening is a big part, I feel, of continuing that positive mindset.
Using those two things there, perspective. Sorry, Jace, hopefully you remember, but I'll forget, so I've got to go. Those two things, gym and perspective. I was just talking about this. I think this conversation probably comes up every day because most people have an injury at some point, and it's easy to focus on what you can't do. Like if you have a sore ankle, there's actually still way more that you can do than you can't. But we focus on what I can't do. It's a big problem. I can't do this. I can't do this. So it's not even worth doing anything. Where I think with practice again, don't worry about that. Focus on what you can do. Like if, I remember Gary Ablett Jr. was out in footy with a lower leg injury years ago, and he didn't stop going to the gym. Like he's got to be fight and fit for when his ankle recovers. So it was the first time I've ever seen a grinder outside of an EFM, and he was like on the grinder going nuts, keeping his fitness up. And it's just like and I've had ulcers and all sorts of problems with my lower legs, and it's disheartening. But the quicker you can get over that and focus on, okay, I can't do that, but what can I do? I'm going to get really good at what I can do. And it takes practice to be able to do that, but it's possible. Of course, it's possible. There's plenty of examples out there.
I think something we've touched on that ties in really well with all of this is appropriate goal setting, right? So you want to set yourself up for success. Then if the target you have in mind is achievable, and then you're more likely to get there and therefore build on that and go to the next one. So if, in relation to the one with the injury, Wade, with a perfectly functioning body, I can come in and I can smash an hour in the gym and in the club and have a great workout. But if that's my expectation every single session that I'm going to be able to do that, then as soon as I do get an injury, right, my perspective is I'm expecting to be able to do this. And the moment I can't, anything less than that is some kind of failure. It's that adaptability to be able to go, like you said, well, what can I do? What is a realistic goal? Or, for the person that's coming in at 6 a.m., hey, I'm going to come in at 6 a.m. every day. Well, hang on a second. You've got 2 late nights a week because you've got kids' sport or whatever. But I could do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If the goal is achievable, you're not failing from the get-go. So the example you're using there with the injury is, all right, the goal is to have an effective workout, because why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to feel fit and want to feel healthy. Well, I'm going to feel healthy at the end of the session if I do 40 minutes of exercise working around my injury than doing no exercise because I'm afraid that I can't do anything because one small part doesn't work. So Yeah, I guess that's a roundabout way of saying the goal setting is a really important part of it.
Yeah.
And they don't even have to be massive goals. Like your goal doesn't have to be to burn 300 calories 5 days a week in the gym, or to lift this or whatever, and to reach this personal personal record on the bench press, whatever it might be. Like, you don't have to have huge ones. It's one of the really very simple sayings that I love is to do small great. So really tiny little things, do them to the absolute best of your ability every single time. And if that means, and as small as just writing your name on a sheet of paper, like, it should be neat, right? Do that great. Once you start doing that great, do something else great. And so your attention to detail becomes quite finite, quite, lost the word. So your attention to detail becomes amazing, and then it becomes amazing as you go along the steps towards the bigger goals that you may have. So just one of the sayings that's always stick in my head: do small great. Like, there's nothing wrong with being great at really small things. It'll help you in the long run. So, and it'll also increase your optimism, I find. Like, if you're able to do little things better than everybody else, and your attention to detail at those things are way better than everyone else, you'd probably be just as good, if you're a competitive person, at doing bigger things as well, if not better than everybody else as well.
Yeah, for sure, because it's got to start somewhere, right? It's celebrating the simpler things, like consistency. Sean at EFM at Victoria Park's got a big slogan up on his wall, and it says consistency trumps motivation. We've talked recently about motivation a few episodes ago, but consistency is huge. It's really important. So even if it means, you're doing a little less, or you've got a new habit and that you're trying to build upon, all right, you might not be able to commit the hour or the 90 minutes or the 40 minutes or whatever it usually is, but if you can commit something and commit to that consistently, then building that consistency helps to build habits, and building habits, I think, helps to build your self-confidence in whatever it is you're trying to achieve. In this example, we're talking a lot about exercise. So
So I was going to say, so go, Wade.
No, I was just going to say that whole attitude thing, I guess, comes first, and then you can start to get consistency. But I just remember us recognizing this many years ago when I was new as a trainer. Again, I'll go back to the word attitude. I remember I picked up a pattern in people very quickly. If people came in and their attitude just wasn't right, it just wasn't going to work. They might have got through that. You could just see that they weren't going to be able to make the lifestyle changes needed to get where they had to go. Like, it's just the foundation of getting that, nurturing the attitude. It's hard because we're not psychologists. We can't, there's only so much we can do to help people with their attitude. But and you'd notice that on the other side, like, people that come in with a really good attitude, you can do no wrong. Like, if I turn up late, because I've slept in, they'll be like, oh, that's all right. Like, you must have needed the sleep. Where the next person might be like, my bloody trainer was late. That's another thing. So yeah, it's you got to get the attitude right first. Then you can work on your getting your routine. It's very cliche, I know, the word routine, but once people are in it, you're in a routine of the gym. If staying at home at gym time, you would feel completely fish out of water if you stayed home. I think that's when you're in the routine if you didn't do the workout.
Yeah. So, Justin, what can we do then? So in our role, we're fitness leaders. What are some of the things that we can do to help adjust people's attitude, if you may? Is there anything that we can do to help adjust people's attitude? What's the best way for us to tackle the person or people that maybe have a glass half empty? What's the best approach there, do you think?
Yeah, look, I think everyone's attitude is completely up to themselves. The best thing and the thing that we do well, I think, in our conversations, offline, is that we're generally positive people. Um, Being that positive person, regardless of how negative and how many problems another person sees with their environment around them, I think can transcend some of that person's negativity. So providing that positive spark, providing that almost leadership on how a positive person would react in such a situation, how positive people repel negativity, because it's all very easy when things are going really well. So when you're surrounded by positive people, life's really good, life's easy. When you're surrounded by negative people, you're really put to the test as to how resilient your level of positivity really is. As that Mike Tyson quote, everyone's got a plan. Everyone's really positive till they get punched in the face. If you get punched in the face by a negative person, understanding yourself and understanding that that's the type of person that you want to be and you're not willing to get sucked into a trap of negativity, I think it's a starting point for for yourself too, but to also project that into the world, as Wade was saying, smile at somebody, to start to kind of have the corresponding personality start to have a look at themselves and going, this person's so positive, why aren't I like this? You've got to, if you don't know that you're a negative person, no one, well, I think your spouse or someone around you close has probably told you you're negative all the time. But if you don't know it, you probably need to be told, or you need to just have maybe a good think about your day and how you reacted to certain situations, because that questioning yourself is the starting point, I believe.
It's tricky in our culture. There's another conversation. We do a lot of talking around here in the mornings about the cultures, like our Australian culture. We're very polite to people. We don't want to offend people. It's like we walk around on eggshells a little bit, sort of, compared to, I think, a lot of Asian cultures. I think Netherlands, people in Europe, they can be quite direct and don't get offended as easy. Like sometimes I would love to, and I think they might be off me as a person, but it could do them well in the long run. Is sometimes it would be good if you could just say, like, you really do have a negative attitude, like, and there are ways that, like, if you could see yourself, you would probably be a bit shocked. Maybe my wife said this to me before, but I think if you could see the way you're reacting from my vantage point, you probably would change your ways. But it is a really good. I think this is a space we could actually help people a lot more if we could arm ourselves with the best tools. So, as you said, Justin, it is up to the individual to want to make the change. But if they don't know it's a thing, how can they address it? I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you can bring it to their attention, then they might go, "Oh crap! I don't want to be like that. How do I change it?" Because a lot of people probably don't realize how negative they are.
I think anybody listening to this right now, if I could get them to do one thing, is to just go and do a bit of self-analysis. What kind of person am I? Where do I fit in that spectrum of being awfully negative or the most positive person in the world? Where do I sit? That analysis, then the next question is, well, where do I want to sit? Where do I want to be a really positive person, or am I happy? Am I at my happiness when I'm being critical or being what they see as, say, maybe a voice of reason? I'm going to bring the tone down to some kind of level of realism because life sucks. Like, if that's where you sit in your happiness, well, okay, you probably don't want to change. But having a bit of self-reflection first, and then visualizing who you want to be. And even if you're not that person now, just fake it. Like, if you are genuinely not particularly positive right now, but you want to be, just pretend pretend to you the person that you want to be.
Mm.
Because I believe everyone's capable of having a really positive attitude, whether they're willing or not is a different story, because it takes a bit of work and it takes some effort and it takes constant effort. So I know plenty of people who are capable. I know very few that are willing.
So another way to put what you're getting at to me, Justin, is am I being positive or am I being negative in a given situation or in general? And how is that serving me? Like if I've got a negative attitude about something, is that working for me? And like you're saying, if it's working, then I guess keep it up. But if it's not working, then how could I change that attitude, and what approach maybe would give me a better result than what I'm getting? So
yeah, here's a question. I mean, how many people that you can identify as, without naming names, generally a negative person, how many of them are really happy? I don't know any.
I don't think it matches up.
So yeah, to my mind, they don't match.
Well, I find in my own work, I'm quite to try and improve my business and improve things. I'm always having to identify what's not right. So I'm focusing on the negatives a lot. So if you spend a lot of your day doing that, you get to the end of the day and you've seen your day in a negative light. But then that's where, the good wife will say, think about all the good things that happened today. Like, how many people came in today? Like, who did their personal best? Like, blah, blah. And you start going, oh yeah, I lost sight of that for a moment while I was trying to work out all the stuff I need to improve.
Meanwhile, you didn't find all these negative things. You found lots of opportunities to get better. And how bad would it be? Like I've got this club and I've got this business and it is where it is right now, but there's no room for improvement. Hey, yes, I found 3 ways today where we can improve. Fantastic. I can go and action those things.
Yeah.
So it's a choice in how you view that. And we have these conversations daily, hourly with our members. And that they are going to choose their own attitude ultimately. But I think our attitude in that plays a huge role in how they choose, because what we put out there, they're going to absorb some of that. If you're positive as a coach, you're positive in the way that you guide and direct and lead them. I think they take on more of that than we probably realize. A number of people that have come and said, you know what, I had a bad attitude when I came in this morning, or I was grumpy when I came in this morning, but I'm not grumpy now. Or I used to think I couldn't do that, but now I realize through practicing it that now I actually can do it. And it's things they wouldn't have done if they didn't come in.
And you start thinking, I wonder what else I can achieve if I apply that. Starts to open up.
Yeah, and I think as well, along the path, say you've analysed yourself. So if we're going along this time frame, you've analysed yourself. Yes, I want to change. You start making different decisions in different situations. There's going to be that time where you're really confronted, where it's far easier to slip into that negative mindset. And in my belief is that at those points you're at a critical junction, right, as to like your path, because it's a path along the way. You can go up and down in whatever happening with your life. Accepting the challenges that life's going to throw at you is a big part of having and maintaining that positive mindset. I mean, life's not easy and it just keeps coming at you. And for some people, it feels like it's coming at them, more strongly and more consistently. It's probably not. And look, some people get sick and whatever, and they're really challenged. So shouldn't, be flippant about it. But having the perspective of where you're at and what's actually happening to you, and then being ready to face every challenge that comes to you creates, like you said, Jace, a feeling that there's an opportunity and an opportunity for growth to get through this challenge. I remember playing golf with a really successful golf pro, and every time he hit it in a bunker, he actually wasn't upset. He was quite happy. For anyone who plays golf, like, you don't want to hit him, you'd rather hit the green or whatever. he was really quite happy because it gave him a chance to improve that part of his game, gave him a chance to almost show off what he was capable of. Completely different mindset to the rest of the world. He was more than happy to hit it in there. You know, let me challenge myself. I really want to see how I go here. It's probably why he's still playing golf and I'm on a podcast. So, yeah. So that's something I'll never forget. I was not. I know I'm not that positive. That positive. I feel like I'm a positive person, but I couldn't come at that.
But I think you nailed it there, Jason. I'll probably move forward through today looking at things in a little different light. I'll recognise that there's a problem there, and just quickly flipping it an opportunity. And a lot of successful business people, I think, are super good at doing what you just said about seeing the opportunity. And it's that cliche, one door closes, another one opens. I think when you're young and in your 20s and you're trying to grapple with that, it's hard. But as you get a bit older and wiser, you start to make sense of that. And it is a real thing. It's super real. But sometimes it's easy to forget that there's an opportunity here. I just can't see it at the moment.
Something we haven't touched on too much is also the people we choose to surround ourselves with, right? So there are times, like you said, Justin, you get sick or you get other challenges that are thrown at you. Sometimes life throws up a curveball or two, and it's just more than what you're typically ready to handle. It's more challenging than anything you've experienced, or more challenging than what you've experienced in a while, and that does, it challenges your resilience and your willingness to stay the course. I do think it's important to try and surround yourself with people who are going to have a positive influence on you, people who are going to have a positive outlook, whether that's your partner, whether that's your friends, or whether that's a work colleague, a mentor, a coach of some description. But to put yourself in places, to put yourself in environments where they're going to be positive. The people are perhaps going to challenge you and ask more of you, but doing it in a positive and I guess what's the word, constructive, in a constructive way, where the complete opposite. If you're with a Debbie Downer in your workplace or at home, or there's a part of your life where you don't have that positive influence. I think it's important to be able to recognize that, and therefore maybe come up with a plan for how am I going to fix that? Do I need to change my environment, or do I need to address the person or the issue within the environment to try and get a better result? So
you become what you're surrounded by. It's very simple but true.
Yeah. So yes, it's up to us. We've got to have the habits. We've got to put the routines in place. But it's easy for that to come undone, or easy for that to become more difficult if we choose to allow certain things in our lives that perhaps don't feed us, they hinder us.
Yeah. And just a quick one before I forget to mention somewhere else. I think with the exercise and positive mindset and all this stuff, I think we haven't really touched on it yet, but when people start exercising, I think nearly in every case, it's an aesthetic. I want to look better. I want to lose fat, all these types of things. But if you go to someone that's been training for years, why they do it, they're probably in most cases doing it more for their head, for their mindset, for their mental health, it's sort of like an active meditation. It might be just switching off at the same time, you're doing good for your body, but you're going to just feel way better after. And it's funny, another conversation this morning, I don't know if I actually did any coaching this morning. It's like I've got the gym beside my office, and at any time I could just stop what I'm doing and go and do a workout. But you self-sabotage and you think, oh no, 45 minutes, it's a lot of time. I'll have to stop working at my computer here. But I think we all know if we do it, we're going to be way more productive following the workout, and you might be pumping out twice as much work in the same time, and you're going to feel better when you go back to the computer. It's just funny how we see that as sacrificing time, but it's actually investing time in your body and in your happiness and your productivity following.
Justin, can I ask you, if we go back, we talked about our pillars early on. How do our pillars impact our positive mindset? If we can refresh back to what they are.
Yeah, so I mean, Wade just spoke about how exercise, one of our pillars, will kind of impact on our mindset in general, and how you feel about yourself, how productive you are. Sleep was another one of our pillars. So having a good sleep routine enables you to wake up the next morning and be productive and continue to tick off those goals as well. So that kind of flows into having that positive mindset. Nutrition, anybody who, has eaten junk food for good chunks, you go away on holidays and you eat a lot of junk food, or we get kind of lazy, or we're too busy, so we kind of ship food in that's not the most nutritious. You feel down, like you feel heavy, you feel like you don't want to do anything, you're not going to move much. So again, that kind of feeds into, like, all these are interrelated.
Very.
So having poor nutrition will lead to a lack of movement, and generally, your body trying to process all this food, it hasn't got, your mind won't have the kind of space that it needs to meet challenges and to create new things, and to be stimulated, so that you can be positive.
It's easy to underestimate, even knowing what I know and doing what I do. It's easy to underestimate the power of your fuel. A quick story. I went away with a couple of my members who I've become good friends with. And we did a road trip, and we just ate like there was no consequence. So too many snacks in the car, and we know on the whole we look after ourselves. So doing that a weekend here and there isn't going to really break the bank. So I won't mention any names. Sean and I went for a run around the block. And usually, I think he often run 5K to start off with, and around the block's only half a K. And we were running, and I said, because I was in my barefoot shoes, I said, we'll just do the short run because I'm in my barefoot shoes. And I was feeling all right. I said, let's do another lap. And Sean, who usually does 5Ks, was happy to stop at half a K. And he goes, I just feel so crap from everything we ate on the weekend. And I was sort of blown away that he couldn't even push through and do another lap because he just felt so trash. And he doesn't even drink alcohol. So, that's another thing again. I thought that it was just that stark reminder, like, yeah, you really are making life hard for yourself if you don't want to exercise.
Yeah, it leaves you feeling physically and mentally tired, right? Which is going to affect your mindset. It's going to affect your attitude. Hydration as well. If you're dehydrated, it's all going to tie in. That ties into your sleep. If you're not sleeping well, you're not going to have the same energy. You're not going to have the same attitudes. It's hard. It's harder to fake it. It's harder to push through when you haven't had enough sleep. So again, it's those simple goals we were talking about. They're small, with the small goal of getting you 7 to 8 hours, whatever the right number is for you. But if you tick those boxes and you do it consistently, you're setting yourself up for success. So
it is very hard to have a positive attitude when you're tired. That's me anyway. I think it's most people.
Yeah, when you're tired, you haven't drunk enough water, so you're dehydrated, you've eaten the wrong food, so you're lethargic. I understand why it's easy to be negative at that point in time.
Yeah.
But all of those things can be a part of positive mindset, and just set your goals around each one of those pillars. They start to feed into themselves again. It's a chicken or an egg kind of conversation, I think. So if we were to leave everybody, so I know for myself, and I've been banging on a little bit about having this little timeline for yourself. If you feel like you're a negative person, how to kind of transition into being more positive. And the other thing the one thing I'd say to people is go and ask your closest friend, spouse, partner, do you think I'm a negative person? Like, give it to me up front. Because you can do a bit of self-analysis and go, no, I'm really positive, and go and ask your wife, husband, partner, and them go, how did you figure that out? Go and ask them, and then because they'll tell you the truth, hopefully, and then you can go, if your analysis matches their analysis, then we can go through the stages. If you want to be a positive person, start going through those stages of both the mental work, trying to be who you want to be, and then fixing the 4 pillars is a great example, Jay. So let's fix those 4 pillars of your life, or adjust them rather than fix them is probably the right term, and set yourself up for success in your ultimate kind of quest.
But if you are looking for a physical thing to do, the gratitude journal, and I'm sure there's 100 different variations on them, but again, Selena helped me through our early years in our relationship. And at the end of the day, I might be cranky and she'd say, come on, tell me 3 things you're grateful for. And it sounded like such a chore, and I'd force myself to do it. But it was amazing how, when just practicing it, like doing reps in the gym, you get stronger and you can feel it changing. It's absolutely incredible. There's so much that perspective. There's a whole lot that we forget. We forget how lucky we are. We forget all the good things that are going for us. So gratitude journal. I'm sure there's 100. Yeah, have a look online. 3-5 things a day. Another thing she used to do with me was the chicken dance. And that's a bit of a joke, but and I'd just be like, oh my God. And it would always put a smile on my face, even though I didn't want to smile. And then I'd join in, and then I'd just snap out of it. And I'm like, what was I in such a grump for? So there are a lot of things when you start looking. I like what you say, go and ask your spouse. It's funny. Our partners probably have a lot of our answers, but they're probably the last person we'll listen to. Maybe that's later in a relationship. It's a strange phenomenon, that one, but it's very real. But I think put your big boy or your big girl pants on and ask for feedback. Like, people, like, put your pride aside. Don't be precious. It might be uncomfortable, but just like in the gym, that's where the reward is on the other side of discomfort. You got to remember that. You got to remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's the easy wrong or the hard right. Choose the hard right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we should have got Selena on the podcast.
She would have been more value than me.
Rubbed you out. All right, boys, we might leave it there. That's a really good, in-depth conversation. I'm sure we can, keep going for another hour or so, but we might save the remaining parts of this conversation for either a guest or another conversation a little bit down the track. We've had 2 good podcasts in a row. I forgot to mention Pete last week. I really enjoyed that conversation. As not someone who's an AFL supporter in kind of any way, even I found the Pete's insight into both sport and AFL, fitness in general, quite fascinating. The first time I ever met Pete, when I went down to Adelaide when I was getting involved in EFM, I had no idea who he was. I didn't I never followed AFL, and it wasn't until we were sitting at dinner, someone actually asked for an autograph from him, and I had to ask the guy next to me, who was also down there getting involved in EFM, what the hell just happened. So that was my first introduction to Pete and his famousness. I was going to say infamy, but let's say famousness. Yeah. So, yeah, I really enjoyed last week. So if you haven't listened to that, go and have a listen. It's a fantastic conversation from, a true professional sports person and coach.
No, it was really good to get that insight. And I'll look forward to getting another guest soon. maybe if we could get some suggestions. I know we've got a bit of a list in mind, and we've got plenty of people we can access throughout EFM and their different professions. So it'd be good to get another guest on soon if anyone has any good suggestions.
Yeah, and so please subscribe and comment. Put comments in the podcast is on YouTube. Write a comment. Subscribe, and we've also just started the EFM podcast Instagram page. So there'll be little clips on there from all of our podcasts that we've done so far. So it's all happening, boys.
Love your work, Justin. You've put a lot of effort into all that, so well done.
Yes, a lot of trial and error, and with my ability and with technology, a very positive mindset needed to get through it all.
Keep up that positivity, mate. Well done.
All right, boys, that'll do us for today. That's the EFM Health Club podcast for another week. We will catch you soon.
Good day, guys.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Wade.